Hi, welcome to today's episode of Dear Designers. Today I'll be talking about the growth quadrant because over time in my little experience as a creative designer, I've come to observe that there are four stages every designer goes through. Some skip some stages, but I'm going to tell us the implication of that. There are four stages I've realized or phases every designer needs to go through because the idea is to grow in your area of interest, your field of expertise. And before you become a pro in that particular field or an expert, you need to follow through processes. Okay, let's go. The first phase or the first process is called L, which is the learning process, the learning phase. Learning phase. Every industry requires training. If you want to start a particular idea, if you want to kickstart a particular project or a particular career or course or course of study, you need to learn. You need to learn the process. You need to learn the process, understand the basics, understand the principles that are guiding that particular field, understand all the elements that is involved in making you a better or someone knowledgeable in that particular field. So as a designer, the first phase is for you to learn the skill. Now, there are two schools of thought: those who are self-taught and those who went through formal educational system to acquire the knowledge. In this particular industry, there are so many self-taught designers. I am self-taught, or rather I was a self-taught designer. I started in that particular process, but regardless of which you fall into, whether you're a self-taught or you learn from a particular design institute or training, a formal system of training, the most important thing here is for you to acquire the knowledge. Learn. I cannot talk much about that, but the first phase here is learning. Now, in this particular, as designers, one of the questions I've received so more over time, or one of the debate, is which particular software should I learn with, which particular design software can I start with. I tell people it's not about your software, it's not about the software that you learn or you specialize in, is about your creative intelligence. Now, if you are starting, whichever software you start with, whether Corel Draw, Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, whichever design software you are starting with, the most important thing is for you to develop the heart to learn the basic principle and put your heart to it and develop your creative intelligence. So you cannot take learning out of it. So the first curve or the first quadrant here is learning, that is L. Now the second one, which is very key for me, is called the S at the right hand side of the quadrant. I'm going to share an image of this in the process of this particular video. You'll see it. S. The S there is to serve. By serving, I mean getting a job or making yourself a volunteer to serve in a particular organization where your service can be tested, where your knowledge rather can be tested. Okay, I've heard so designers, they some of the issues that we usually treat in brand varsity is basically freelancing and stuffs. And I tell designers, see, especially for self-taught designers, if you are a self-taught designer or even those that finish from a formal training institute, you need to test your ability to serve in an organization or to get employed. Is very important. To get employed is very important. If you don't get a job, or if you cannot find a place where you can be gainfully employed, volunteer to serve in an organization. Quick story: when I started designing in 2010, started testing my software. I started with Corel Draw application. I tested started with Corel Draw application, and there was no platform for me because I was a self-taught And the best way for me to hone my skill is to make myself available to serve in an organization. So I served in my church as a volunteer designer. Interestingly, that was where I was able to build my skill, because it gave me the opportunity to learn, make mistakes, and build on or improve myself as designers. In fact, when I submitted my first design to my employer, he just looked at me and said, "Believe, if this is what you are going to be giving me as a designer, I'd rather be getting my jobs from Lagos." Because then the organization moved into Abuja to start the ministry. So it was a church, it was my church. So we started in 2010. So I made myself the official first designer, and it was awesome. But the interesting thing is, I was able to serve in that space, not for the money, but just because I needed to grow my skill. I wasn't confident enough of what I know. So the best way for me to know that I know what I know is for me to test it practically in a system. And one of the things that helps working in a system or serving in a particular structured system is it gives you the opportunity to network, to build your skill, and also to leverage on opportunities that will come within that particular system. Yes, I say that because you will learn so much that you will not, the things you will learn from that particular system, or in a system where you are being paid or serving as a volunteer, it tests your competence, it tests your speed, it also tests your ability to work under pressure. Because if you just feel okay, you just learn this thing on the streets or as a self-taught designer, well, you are good now, you don't see any organization that can pay you, because that's one of the mites of most of us that learned on the job or on the street. So you need to serve, because it helps you develop yourself more, and to be sure that you are learning or you are growing in the process. Because of time, we're going to stop here. In our next episode, we'll continue. We'll take the two other aspects of the quadrant. So feel free to like this video. I would like to hear from you, your comments. If there's any issue you want me to address in a subsequent episode, please state it in the comments, and follow me on the various handle that is displayed on the screen. If you're watching it on YouTube, also click the subscribe button and notification as well, so that you'll be getting every update and episode that will be coming up in our subsequent class. Till I come your way again, this is Billy Stanley. Remain productive.